back to another episode of Phantom Airborne All The Way. Today I have with me again Phil Ludos. Phil, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So last time Phil joined us, it was a little bit different. We were talking about the Live Like Larry program. This time, something a little bit different. Phil has self-published his own book. This is his very first book. I had a chance to pick up a copy of it from Amazon last week. I got it on Saturday, arrived about 10 o'clock in the morning. I can tell you that when I sat down and read it, I didn't put it down until I was completely finished with it. I read it all in one afternoon. It was fantastic. So, very good job on your very first book, Phil.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, um, tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write your new book, Everyday Tactical Tips. And then tell us a little bit about your background and how your background influenced that.
What inspired me was on my social media, I started, probably about a year ago, Tactical Tuesday Tips. Um, I had some colleagues started calling me Tactical Beer quite a few years ago, and it sort of took and had the logo. So, but I was just doing it through social media, just 1 minute quick reads, Tactical Tuesday, try to help that practical armed citizen out there. But then one day I was just sitting, just like, you know what? I want to put these all under in one cover. So I started just writing out Tactical Tuesday tips in advance, and it was like put it in a book format, and so I really wanted to get something out there for the average everyday armed civilian.
So tell me, who is your target audience for this book? Is it for people who are just beginners, or is it for the well-trained tactical enthusiast?
I think it's for both. So now I address more to the average citizen, probably that has just picked up their concealed carry. But I think anybody can get something out of this. I learned long ago when I became an instructor that no matter where you go in life, what class you attend, what book you read, you can pick something up and you can learn something. So my intent was from A to Z. I wanted something for anybody to pick out of this. So if someone reads it and they get one thing out of it and it becomes a practical application in life and it makes a difference, then it worked. That's what I wanted. So absolutely.
So I conceal carry every day, and I can tell you that reading through the book, I did not find that it was too basic for me. I didn't find that it was over my head, but I did find a lot of stuff in there that was a good reminder of why I carry and good refresher as to my duties and responsibilities as an armed citizen when I'm out in public, and just a good refresher on things that I should be looking for. You know, how I can protect myself better, how I can protect my family better.
Yes, absolutely. So, and that's what I really wanted to drive home was, because I pride that I believe that it interpreted as like, everyday situations. Apply it to, pumping gas. Apply it to I'm in the mall. Apply it to I'm sitting at a restaurant. A lot of people don't, when they address training, they just give it to you by the numbers, but they don't put you in a situation that you're going to find yourself in everyday life. So that's what I really tried focusing on was the practicality of it.
So you talk about practicality, and those are all practical things. Pumping gas, being in a restaurant, in a mall. Um, what are some of the self-defense strategies that you talk about and cover in your book that everyone could find useful?
Um, One, I would have to say situational awareness. Situational awareness is the number one thing. If you develop a sense of situational awareness, you're not buried in a phone, you're not buried in distractions, and you are constantly looking around. You're evaluating your area. It's a lot of people have heard the color code of awareness. Yellow means you're unaware. So people should be walking around everyday life. And I talk about this extensively in the book, The Color Code of Awareness, the different levels. And yellow is basically, I strive to tell people it's like, look, stay in yellow. You're not stressed out where you're in red. In red, you're engaging. Um, or you're not all the way down, low, and it's just I'm relaxing like at home. No, you're in yellow where you're just aware of your surroundings. So situational awareness, you're in 7-Eleven, you're in the Wawa, and it's like, guy walks in, ooh, not sure. He looks a little questionable. He's wearing a coat in Florida. Know where the exits are. What's going on? Trust your gut. So situational awareness is a tactic that I would definitely say is the number one thing for me, and that would be followed up with then mindset. You know, and before you pick up a firearm and you decide, hey, how am I going to protect myself and my loved ones, and even possibly people around me? I've decided to use a firearm, get my concealed carry. You have to go through the mindset. Am I able to push through a scenario where I get shot or I get injured or someone near me gets injured? Can I follow through with this? So situational mindset is probably one of the two important tactics that I talk about.
Right. So Phil, how does Everyday Tactical Tips different from some of these other books that you see in the bookstore or online? I know there's a lot of books out there that talk about self-defense and tactical tips, but how is your book different from any of those others we might find?
I think first, my book's an easy read. I think it's easy for the average American armed citizen to just sit down who's never been in the military, never been a law enforcement officer, or doesn't really have a tactical background, but can sit down and read it and go, huh, that makes sense. And I didn't think about that. And hopefully it spurred a thought, or I emphasized enough on how to train that they go out and seek to get better at it. The other thing is, I think there's some great books out there. There's definitely some great YouTubers out there. But I think the difference between my book and those is a lot of them, they'll take your law enforcement strategy and they'll apply that. And that doesn't necessarily apply to everyday life or your military channel. It's like, hey, you have this drill, you're going to do this, and it looks great. And you're doing ready up drills and you're engaging, you're transitioning weapon systems. But does it apply to everyday life? My book, I tried very hard and extensively to apply it to everyday life and scenarios.
Yeah, I found a lot of the scenarios that you talked about in your book. They definitely did apply to real life situations, like you mentioned before. Pumping gas, or at a shopping mall or in a restaurant. I mean, those were real life situations that all of us face, on a daily basis. What are the most common mistakes that armed citizens make when it comes to, personal protection and self defense? What are some of the mistakes that they make?
Well, I think the biggest mistake, and I really talk about training a lot. I actually write in the forefront of the book, I have a little blurb. I talk about range time. And I caveat that with this: I understand the challenges of training in today's world. You go into an indoor range and it's all tabletop. It's hard to find the range where they're going to let you draw from concealed. They're going to let you. Me and my wife, our company, All American Tactical, we were in Colorado. We could go out to DLM lands, and literally we could set up tables and we could shoot like we're at a restaurant. We'd pull up the car and we're shooting into the mountain, and but most people are challenged. But what I really think is the number one thing, though, is there's so many different ways that you can train and continue and get better. But not the average, but there's a fair amount of people that will go to the Hilton, go to their concealed carry class, they'll get their permit, they'll pick up their gun, they'll shoot the 31 rounds for the class, and then that's it. That is probably the number one thing. We have a responsibility when we exercise our Second Amendment right and we pick up a firearm, concealed carry for personal protection of us and loved ones. We have a responsibility to be proficient and be tactically sound, because we could, if you engage a threat in the public, do you know what's beyond your target? Are there people? Is there a wall? If you miss your target, does that round go through the wall? So you have to have that mindset too.
Okay, so obviously just concealed carry is not enough. Concealed carry alone is not going to be what protects you. You talk in your book a lot about tactical readiness and a tactical mindset. Talk about how that preparation and having those things goes a long way towards your self-defense.
Absolutely, great question. So, mindset is very critical. Um, your survival can actually hinge on it. So, you have to go through the mental aspect. What if I get shot? What if I see blood? You could physically shut down when you see your own blood or you feel pain, and you have to get in the mindset that I'm going to push through this. Because if you don't push through it, then now you're going to have a chance of freezing. And now, in a threatening situation, that could be the difference between who survives and who doesn't. So, mindset is very important, and it doesn't necessarily come from reading books, even mine. I try to apply that and I try to talk to people, but it comes from training under pressure. And one of the biggest things to train under pressure, and I talk about this in my book, is just join a shooting club. Me and my wife shot single action society, basically cowboy 3-gun, and you're under a timer, you're under a buzzer. You had to run scenarios, you had to get from point A to point B without any malfunctions under a certain time, and you're shooting for the best time. Granted, it's single action, and we were playing John Wayne, but the stress was there. It puts you under stress. So if you have an opportunity, then in training, to put yourself under stress. In the military, we had stress shoots all the time. Sniper school has stress shoots, training has stress shoots. So if you have the opportunity in training, and again, I understand that training in today's public ranges are challenging, but there's a lot of different tools out there. So mindset definitely in the mental preparation is very, very important.
So we mentioned that you were an NRA instructor, and we mentioned that you were an instructor when you were in the Army as well. Um, but as I read your book, I couldn't help but feel like some of your writing came from a personal place and a personal experience in your life. Is there something personal in your life that occurred that led to some specific tips in the book, or um, you know anything like that?
Yes, absolutely. One of the biggest factors is my wife. When I was courting my wife, and I was still in the military then, I didn't retire till 12. Um, Through the courting process, I found out that she was a victim of a violent crime. And she took it upon herself, and her brothers helped her. And she's decided that she was never going to be a victim again. So she went out and took a class, got her concealed carry. Brothers helped her pick out a firearm, and she started carrying. And I was like, okay, but now we need to take this to the next level, because she did the first step. So I really dove in with my wife, training her and tactically getting her proficient to think tactically. She wanted to carry in the purse. And I talk about purse carry in the book, and it's an option. A lot of people, I mean, it's like the great debate 45 9 mil. A lot of people will debate whether or not a purse carries appropriate or fast enough. Well, I'm here to tell you it can be. So we trained her with her purse. We developed tactics for her with her purse, and she got down to the point that she was engaging a target at 3 to 5 yards, correcting a malfunction, a stovepipe, within 2.8 seconds, and placed a round in the abdomen area of a target. And there's an old saying out there: the first one to win a gunfight is the first one to get a round down range. And that's what we trained her. So I'm very invested in tactics and teaching people to survive in today's world. And my wife got so proficient and so good, she became an NRA instructor, and she's taught hundreds of women to do the same thing. And it,
So, for someone like your wife, and the ladies who come to her NRA training class, they all have to start somewhere. We all have to start somewhere. So, what would you say to those who are looking to become a little more tactically aware, and where should they start? What would you recommend?
I would recommend they start with just developing a situational awareness. And that is simple as you're just maneuvering around through the day. You're watching people, you're looking at exits, you are being aware. You're pumping gas and you're looking, you're not on your phone. And you start there. Once you start developing a good situational awareness, you have, unbeknownst to yourself, started to think tactical, because now you are going, what is this? Where's that? Where's the exit? What if I do this in that situation? So I would start there. Next step, you could start a self-defense class, and there's all kinds out there, but that will help promote the thinking too, because they are in a defense class. They're teaching you how to counter moves or do what. Um, Physical fitness is another critical step. And I only mention that because if you're in a good physical fitness stage of your life, then now you're presenting a hard target. So criminals will never, try to take a hard target. So finally, if you can, and I know we talked about it earlier, but try to train in real world situations. Try to find that club, that gun club that will let you draw from a concealed position. Maybe that gun club that'll let you fire while you're in the seated position, trying to simulate sitting in a restaurant or something. There are certain gun clubs out there that will let you do that, or find some public land, DLM land, national forest, stuff like that. There are a lot of those you can just throw a target up and shoot. So the biggest thing is, if you can, try to find a place to train real world, but by all means, always, in our house, we are in the range once a month. Round.
We go to the range quite a bit, but there are safe ways to train at home.
Absolutely.
I mean, with an unloaded firearm and cleared, you can try drawing from the hip ground. There's plenty of ways that you can train from home safely.
That is a fantastic point, because we are big believers in dry fire. We dry fired when we were competitive shooters. We would be in our garage, set up paper targets, and dry fired all the time when we were cowboy shooting. You're right. You're just safe. Take your ammo, put it in a completely different room. Each other check your firearm, make sure it's safe, it's clear, and sit at the dining room table. How are you going to draw your firearm? You can even go to the garage, sit in your car. How can I fire from my car? So there are great tools, and yes, absolutely, they all add to the training scenario.
Yeah, and something else that you can train at home that a lot of folks don't even think about is reloading. Regardless of the weapon that you carry, reloading can be key. Whether you're carrying a 6 shooter or whether you're carrying a 9mm with a magazine, but learning how to drop that magazine and deploy another magazine quickly and efficiently, that takes training. It's not like we said in the earlier, it's not like it is in the movies.
I would sit on the couch and I would just drop magazine, reload while I'm watching TV. Drop magazine, reload. There's so many simple ways to build that muscle memory, and that's the whole key. In the military, we hear that all the time, muscle memory. And I tell people, I said, that's why soldiers execute so well, because it's muscle memory, and they get underneath the stress of an actual fight. The muscle memory just kicks in.
So, Phil, I've known you for a little while now, and I've seen how excited you have been for this new book to come out. I've seen how excited you've been since it's been released. I know you're very proud of it, as you should be. But I can tell that this is not it for you. I feel like there is probably a lot more in the works for you. Um, so, what's next for you? You got any follow-up books or projects coming?
I do. I'm actually working on one right now. I took a break from the tactical side, but I'm working on one right now, and it's called The Next Santa Claus. So my wife's Norwegian. I have about 40% Viking blood in me, and we really embrace that culture. So I love Christmas. I love Santa. And this is a story about a soldier. And as you read his uproots and his beginnings, they're a little familiar to someone you probably know. And then it's his trial through becoming the next Santa Claus. So I'm about 20 chapters into that, and I'm really excited because this is just a fun story. But I do have a layout of, I've already got an outline for the next one. So it's coming. So I got a volume 2, Everyday Tactical Tips, and I'm going to subtitle it Real World Mindset, Movement, and Mastery for the Armed Civilian.
So I know that you're a certified NRA instructor. Do you have any plans to expand being an NRA instructor, or maybe even doing something like YouTube videos or online courses or anything like that?
Well, it's funny because with this book, because me and my wife, we stopped our tactical business about 2015. And just because we got busy, I was still working for DOD. But with this book, it sort of reinvigorated us. And we've been talking about maybe starting up slowly, maybe doing classes again. And we focused on concealed carry. And then I had a side class. My wife had a class she called Basic 20 that was very successful. And what she would do is it was down and dirty $20, come into class, Basic 20, and she would teach your lady that she wants to get, but she's not sure. She's a little timid around firearms, and it's the basics. It's like, hey, this is how you unload. This is how you clear it. This is what a magazine is. This is how you rack a slide. It's very basic, and it's an introduction course. And then we can take them to the next level. And that was real successful because there's been a lot of ground made, but there's still quite a few women out there that are still a little timid and not sure if that's a protection level they want to carry yet. So yeah, long story longer. Yeah, we were thinking of maybe diving back into the teaching pool.
Yeah, I would think that probably applies to both men and women.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There are a lot of guys out there. It's just they didn't have the upbringing around firearms, but they see what's going on in today's world and they're like, I want to take the next step.
Well, Phil, thank you so much for joining us tonight, man, and congratulations on your new book. We wish you all the success in the world. We can't wait for your to see what's next with you, and most importantly, we appreciate everything that you do here at Phantom Airborne.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again, Greg. I appreciate it. It's been fun.